Time to talk to our first guest on the show after the paper review that we've had this morning, and it is of course the one and only Mr. Kelvin Mackenzie. Kelvin, a very good morning to you, sir.
Yeah, hello there, Mike. How's it all going?
Yeah, it's going very well. I mean, once again, we awake to the news that this country has sunk further down the gurgler and is now not only undemocratic, but you can't even vote. 4 million people now going to be refused the right to vote in the local elections. Front page of Daily Telegraph. Absolutely outrageous, isn't it?
Yes, and of course the interesting aspect is, of course, most of them that have voted allegedly to save their constituents' money are those in Labour strongholds, which are almost certainly not going to become Labour strongholds when the voting does take place. They will become Reform strongholds, or even a kind of right of centre strongholds with mixtures of Conservatives and Reform. So it's been done basically not to save money, which is, of course, what Labour say, but of course it's been done actually to deny people the right to throw out a bunch of absolutely dreadful local politicians whose main role in life is to work out car parking charges, which nobody can afford. Although the reason we have car parks is because people want to go to work, especially in the southeast, where work is in London and you have to commute 25 and 30 miles a day, costing enormous amounts of money. And so what they say is, we are a local council, we have got you trapped. You have to park your car, and therefore we'll increase the prices every year and claim that it's all going to looking after old dears in hospitals. Yeah. It is absolutely scandalous. And actually, strangely, I once stood as an independent councillor on the car parking in the local area, on the anti-car park charges and policy, and unfortunately, I got defeated by the Conservatives, but I did manage to trouser 793 votes, and so I'm very grateful. If any of your viewers voted for me, thank you so much.
Yes, it is extraordinary, though, isn't it? How we now have this kind of construction of ridiculous kind of administration in every single aspect of our lives. You know, we've got Rachel Reeves this morning talking about how pubs must pay their fair share. Pubs are going to be shutting down because these business rates. We've got one business rate going up in a pub in the Shires, 2,000%, 17,000 quid. It's going to wipe them out.
And there's a lot of crap talked about community centres and stuff like that, turning libraries into community centres. Yeah. You could fire a cannon every half an hour through our local community hub, which we've just spent a fortune on, i.e. the library, right, and not kill anybody. Right? Yeah. People, if you want a book, by the way, go to your local charity shop where there are the most spectacular collection of books that people want to read and have read. Yeah. Right? Don't go to. So the truth about the matter is that they spend money in a way which nobody cares about and penalises areas where people do want to go. So pubs are a fantastic hub for people. There's one round our way called the Jolly Farmer. Yeah. If you go in there, say around about 4:30, and you go there till 7:30, 7:45, it is absolutely heaving, right? As everybody has a pint, chats with their mates. It's the place to meet. It is, how are you getting on? It's smaller families. It's fantastic, right? Funnily enough, you could actually turn the lights out at 7:45 or 8 o'clock or something, because everybody then goes, quotes, home for some dinner. Look, it's maybe a rather old-fashioned idea. I don't know that Weybridge in Surrey is particularly old-fashioned, but that is where our money should be invested. We don't need to penalise commercial operations to fund libraries where nobody is going, or if they do go there, they go there to read a free newspaper or operate or operate a kind of old-fashioned desktop computer. You know, we have stopped. We've got to stop the idea of subsidising people and start the idea of actually trying to encourage commercial life in our country.
Yeah, but this is the problem with this entire government. And when they see somebody making money, they just want to take a piece of it. You know, every single piece of income that I now have is constantly being attacked by HMRC. You know, they're coming up with new ways of taxing you. Now they're going to tax business rates. They're going to put business rates up. Council tax is going up. You know, car tax is going up. Alcohol tax is going up. Everything's going up.
Well, I tell you, the most dangerous area, I think, probably for your viewers, will be that they've decided that housing is a previously untaxed area. So, honestly, it's everybody's big bet: buying a house and literally paying it off over 25 years, a fantastic form of saving. And if it goes up in value, that's mainly because there are more people in the country. And there are more people buying houses. So it's a supply and demand issue. We're a small country and we have a lot of people in it. Actually, I wish we had quite a few less people in it, to be absolutely honest. I have some particularly in mind. But they've now decided the housing is it. So they've started it off now at £2 million. I guarantee to you, let's hope to God this does not happen. But in 2029, if they were to get back in again, right, or even maybe included in the manifesto, that they drop the 2 million barrier where you'll start paying extra tax, right, but start taking it down to 1.8, 1.7, 1.5, and eventually, if you own a prefab in Blackpool, you'll end up paying tax on it. What they won't do, what this government will not do, and the Tories were as guilty. The Tories were as guilty. Right? What they won't do is say, we are going to reduce our spending.
Yeah.
Okay. So why don't they, for instance, with the NHS, why don't they say, I tell you what, we're going to do what they do in Ireland. You're going to pay 50 quid when you go and see your doctor. You're prepared to pay, I don't know, you're prepared to pay any amount of money to go to the movies. You want to go to the theatre, that costs you money. It costs you money to pay your car insurance. Why, the most important aspect of your life, aren't you prepared to invest in? And but what they do is they take the tax. They take the tax off you, but you don't know how that money's being spent. No. I've just been in Australia for a good period. And in Australia, on the high street, there are MRI shops, there are doctors' surgeries, there are this, there are that. You go in, you pay your money, and it's part of an insurance policy. What is wrong with that? And I'll tell you what's wrong with it. It's because socialists don't like the idea that you spend your money in your way. Yeah. You have to spend it in the manner in which they dictate. Anyway, that's...
Yeah, no, but that's, I mean, I've been a long time advocate of paying to go and see your GP, because apart from anything else, what it would do is it would take away those people who just go to the GP because they fancy going to the GP for a chat, or they fancy going to the GP because they're hypochondriacs. And if they had to pay 10 quid every time they went, they'd probably stop going. So it would free up a load of free time for the GP.
Yeah, no, I agree. If you go into our local clinic, they do their best, but honestly, I have seen. I was in there the other week, and I have seen less people at a Charlton home game. You know, it was absolutely heaving, the place. I mean, it was absolutely. Now, I'm sure that they were sick, or I hope they were sick, but I wonder, looking at the state of some of them, I wonder whether you should do an idea which I had for hospitals, which you should have doors which, if you are too fat, you can't actually come through, right? And on that basis, I looking around there, I'm, obviously you've got your own challenges there, Mike.
Thank you very much,
whether you'll be allowed it.
I'll go private, don't worry.
Yeah, well, that's the point. Well, what about this story? So I had I don't want to go into the detail because it's only 7:54, but I had what can only be described as a dodgy rear end issue. So I decided to Yeah, thanks very much. Yeah, well, this is the joy of the online world.
Absolutely.
And so I contacted my GP, and they said, we've got a date for you in a month's time to see our doctor. I said, well, honestly, I'm not in good shape. And they said, yeah, it's a month's time, but thanks very much for calling.
Right.
So in the meantime, I went to the Runnymede private hospital, contacted them. They organised it all. 4 days later, I have the colonoscopy. The bad news for some parts of the country is that I had nothing wrong with me. Right now, yeah, it cost me $3,000. Right, it cost me $3,000. But at the end of the day, I found out that I was okay. Okay. By the way, it may not only just be some parts of the country that would be bad news. It might be most parts of the country. But but the point I make. So eventually I get a call from them saying, "Are you still okay for next Wednesday?" I said, "Well, do you realise that in the time that I asked for your appointment, I actually." And the time that you've called, I've actually found out I'm perfectly all right because I spent £3,000 and went private.
Yeah.
And do you know what? To give the credit to the person, they didn't want to get involved in that discussion. They just said, "Thank you very much for telling us."
Yeah. Right.
That's where we are.
That's what you have to do.
System in our country.
Yeah, I mean, I've had to do very similar things as well because I've given up on the NHS. I don't even go to the GP anymore because it's so ridiculous to try and get
They
in
haven't
there.
given up on you.
No, that's good. No, but I mean, listen, I'm keeping several doctors and nurses alive and keeping them, absolutely liquid. Their liquidity has never been better. But let me ask you a couple of other things. Somebody's nominated you, by the way, already for Bookshelf of the Week because you've got a fascinating bookshelf there behind you, and also a couple of a couple of people suggested you might be Rear of the Year after that. But listen, we've got to talk about the West Midlands Police.
Very attractive. I'm not prepared. I'm not prepared to go into the last aspect of it and make it a public.
No.
I've had a word with Grok, and they have actually put clothes on me rather than Rear of the Year. But go on.
Yeah, no. Let's talk about the front page of the Daily Mail. Shameless. The West Midlands Chief Constable Craig Guilford hanging on to his job. I saw you tweeted out yesterday. He must surely go, and he might well be out of a job by the end of today. But he's hanging in there, apparently claiming that he's been treated badly. This is an absolute shambles, isn't it?
Well, right. So the issue is the one area which will see him out the door, and is absolutely completely wrong, is when he had to admit to the Commons Select Committee that one of the pieces of evidence that they had supplied in order to ban Maccabi actually came from a scraping of the internet in which there was allegedly a problem in the West Ham Maccabi game. There was no West Ham Maccabi game. Anybody who knows anything about the online world knows that there are people putting shite out there, and I can only imagine what potential religion would have put out that kind of untrue allegation. The idea that this was included in their decision making, right, without checking. By the way, I wouldn't know. Nobody would know. Was there a West Ham Maccabi game? I'm a big football fan.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have known. Their job is to check it.
Of course.
That, which was part of their decision making process, must lead to Guilford going on top of everything else. It's been a total and complete shambles. Now, the issue for this guy, right? So I'm sitting in Guilford's position, right? And I think I've been badly served by my colleagues. Okay. By the way, our country should be so grateful for journalism.
Yeah.
So grateful for journalism as it exposes time after time after time that within state industries particularly, there is the most disgraceful decision-making going on without any form of scrutiny, without our journalism. So we need in the world going forward, we need more. It probably won't do you any good, but we need more and more Mike Graham shows. We need more online offerings, which is the great news about YouTube doing so well and and everybody else doing so badly. It means that people, individual journalism will do well. And thank God for the Times. Thank God for the Telegraph. Thank God. I used to be able to say thank God for the Sun, but these days I'm afraid it's a pale shadow, and we won't go there. But so. So this guy is now effectively negotiating, because what he's saying is, look, you can't throw me out easily, and the guy who's going to give him the bullet is the guy who appointed him.
Yeah.
So the other issue that emerges on that is that guy was chairman of Momentum in the local branch.
This is the police and crime commissioner, right?
Yeah. So he supported Corbyn. Now, under Corbyn, two things happened. One, he said that Hamas introduced them at some do as my friends, right? He apologized for that. He said he regretted it. Really big deal. Hamas is a terrorist outfit. Right. Two, under Corbyn, the Labour Party was censured by the Equality Commission for being anti-Semitic. I mean, an extraordinary thing to happen. The leader of the Labour Party, the entire party was anti-Semitic. So when something like this happens, you would have thought the crime commissioner would say, actually, this is not good. It's not good for the West Midlands. It's not good for relationships between Muslims and Jews in the area. I'm afraid you've got to go. Could it be that actually, funnily enough, he doesn't see anything wrong with the ban? And in fact, after all, he went round. He said 53 people in a panel to appoint Guildford, and he said, "I'm not going to get rid of him." Does he have some leaning towards the decision, and therefore, actually, in a funny way, he's on Guildford's side? Now, if he is, why doesn't he say so? Actually, what he's saying, I don't want to get sued. Now, you go to Guildford and say, look, whether it's your fault, not your fault, you're sitting at the top of the pyramid, you've got to go. There is a deal to be done. Let's just get rid of the guy. The idea, and this is obviously a Tory idea, I totally buy that they should never have allowed the Police and Crime Commissioner to be the only person that can decide whether a chief constable should go. Actually, at 100 miles an hour, push through Parliament an act so that Mahmood can fire him. But this can't carry on. You can't have a chief constable of an important area of the country who's clearly, lost the confidence of a government. And clearly a lot of people are enormously upset at a decision which should never have been made. Can't have him sitting there just taking his money and saying, "Oh yes, we'll pursue that guy for speeding." It's not right.
No, it's absolutely shocking. I mean, you think it will be ended before the end of this week? Then do you think you see him going at some point? Somebody's going to lean on him enough, give him enough money.
Well, it's a question. I should imagine of the money. I should imagine whatever the deal is, and he says he's lawyered up. Well, first of all, who's paying for the lawyers? Yeah. Right. Yeah. Let's hope it's not the state. That really would be a disgrace. And he just wants to dig in. It will actually reduce West Midlands to a laughingstock. You get stopped by the cops for speeding or doing this or doing that, or some of you get arrested for this, that, the other, whatever. Honestly, it'll be the only subject matter. And you can't imagine that if you were further down the ladder, if you were a hardworking police officer, simply not quite walking the beat, but driving the beat, right? And he was in this kind of trouble. How long would he last? 10 seconds, exactly. 5 seconds, 0.1 seconds. The guy has to go. It has gone wrong, and it's time to go.
Yeah, absolutely right. Kelvin, great to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. Superb. We'll talk more about the BBC and YouTube another time. Great to see you. Thank you very much indeed. Kelvin Mackenzie, former editor of The Sun, of course, media titan, founder of TalkSport as well, giving us his views there on the dreadful state of the West Midlands Police.